After WrestleMania 27, which I thought was just terrible and bad, and was used as a sacrificial lamb to set up the next year's WrestleMania, I do feel like over the past 3 years, the WWE has done the best that maybe they can see possible to try and provide us with a type of special attraction match. Understanding that WrestleMania is the biggest show of the year, understanding that they need to give the people something that makes the show feel like it's the biggest and most important show of the year because it is. WrestleMania 28, you could say you had a couple of different attractions. For the more serious fans, you had the Punk versus Jericho match for the title. For the older fans, you had Taker versus Triple H in a Hell in a Cell, the end of an era match. And then you had that kind of fantasy matchup of The Rock versus John Cena. And that's why I think WrestleMania 28 came across as a pretty good show. And once you got to those featured matches, it really started to roll. Even WrestleMania 29, while a lot of us that are more serious about this might not have liked it so much because especially we knew where it was going to go, you did have The Rock versus John Cena for the WWE Championship main eventing WrestleMania 29. That's a big box office special attraction type of match. And even looking at this year, I should say, at WrestleMania 30, you had the attraction of Daniel Bryan and if he was going to ultimately overcome the odds. Then you also threw in Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker. How that turned out is one thing, but you still had those matches that felt like special attractions, those matches that people wanted to see and paid money to see. So I can appreciate that the WWE wants to keep that momentum going, wants to keep that positive ball rolling with WrestleMania 31 in Santa Clara next year. I get that and I understand that. And I appreciate that the WWE is going to go out of their way, it seems like, to provide that type of big special attraction because you do need it at that type of big show. And now, especially with The Undertaker's streak being snapped, that instantaneous kind of built in automatic special attraction isn't there anymore. You don't have the streak to ride the back of when it comes to WrestleMania. You don't even know if Taker's going to wrestle next year at Mania or not, or if it's even required or even needed or necessary. So this definitely puts some extra emphasis on the WWE and importance on the WWE to make sure that they provide that special attraction because they don't have the kind of frankly lazy way out with just giving Taker a big match and that's your special attraction. Well, that's not the case anymore. And there obviously is a need for that special attraction, especially at a time where the WWE still lacks big time draws and big time stars on their full time roster. People could sit there and talk about a Cena or a Norton, or if they want to sit there and say Daniel Bryan when he's healthy, or they want to say, this guy or that guy. Well, the bottom line is, let's be perfectly realistic. These full time guys are not full time, huge time stars. And we all know this to be true. That's why they want to bring in somebody like a Brock Lesnar and be a part-time champion because they feel like they need a big-time draw. They need a big-time star. There's a reason for that. Now, the WWE's created that problem by sitting there and over the years continuously undercutting younger talent and refusing, it almost seems like, to build new stars and focus on getting the next generation ready, instead trying to focus strictly on the short term. And I think that is a byproduct of being a publicly traded company. It's all about the here and now. It's not about the long term. So now it looks like the special attraction that the WWE seems to believe is in our best interest and in their best interest is The Rock versus Triple H at WrestleMania 31. They did that little vignette that was taped after Raw or whatever that appeared on SmackDown this week with The Rock and Triple H and their little 5 or 6 minute showdown backstage. Triple H in his weekly interview was hinting at it, dropping those little Triple H kind of burial hints. Yeah, The Rock is great, but I beat him more often than he beat me. And this definitely seems to be on the heels of The Rock returning Monday on Raw to encounter Rusev. People were wondering, is he going to have a future match with Rusev? Was this just a one-off deal? Or are they going to try and do something with The Rock this year since they weren't able to do so at WrestleMania 30 other than that opening promo segment? He wasn't involved in a match. And it looks like we've gotten our answer. It sure seems like they are pointing to The Rock versus Triple H at WrestleMania 31. Now, don't get me wrong. These guys had some great matches over the years. They had a great rivalry over the years. If this was WrestleMania 16, then I'm down for it. This is one of those one-on-one WrestleMania matches that never happened. That should have happened back in 2000 at WrestleMania 16. Instead of the WWE doing that, they made that main event about the McMahon family, and you throw Big Show and Mick Foley into the mix, and it becomes one big schmoz of clusterfuck. You know, it's not 2000 anymore. It's going to be 2015 next year. Do we really want to see The Rock versus Triple H as the kind of special attraction match for WrestleMania? I mean, at some point in time, I understand you need that special attraction, especially with The Undertaker's streak being no more, and perhaps The Undertaker at WrestleMania being no more. And I understand, WWE, that you have a lack of big-time draws and stars and special attraction type of matches that you can, cultivate out of your own full-time roster. But is this the best use of both guys? I have no problem with Triple H wrestling at WrestleMania 31. I have no problem with The Rock wrestling at WrestleMania 31. Especially because the way I look at it in today's WWE, when it comes to WrestleMania more than any other time perhaps in their history, to me it is truly all hands on deck. If that meant tomorrow that Austin called you up and said, "Hey, I just drank a few beers. God damn it, kid. I want to wrestle WrestleMania 31. What the fuck are you going to do? You're going to tell him no? No, you're going to say yes. It is all hands on deck. But it is still important to utilize these guys in the right way for the right reasons to achieve a certain result. And my problem with doing The Rock versus Triple H at WrestleMania 31 is I don't think this is the best utilization of both guys' talents. And in 2015, come next year, is this the match that fans really want to see? It would be something different if The Rock and Triple H never wrestled at all or never wrestled at a WrestleMania. But we've been down that path numerous times. We've been down that path at WrestleMania once before. Granted, not one-on-one, but we've still been down that path. And looking at the WWE in its current situation, wouldn't you think the best way to help out your product is to utilize both a Triple H and a Rock, two legends from the past, in a way to help advance that next generation? Here's what I mean. When I look at Triple H right now, to me, the guy beyond question that he should wrestle at WrestleMania 31, point blank period, is Dean Ambrose. I think the dynamics are there. You've set it up with Ambrose versus Rollins. He could transition to Orton, and then he could eventually transition to Triple H come WrestleMania season. This would be the type of signature match that a Dean Ambrose would need to really establish himself as a single star. This is a type of signature victory at a Big Four, especially your biggest pay-per-view of the year, that could launch a guy like Dean Ambrose into the next stratosphere. And I understand that Triple H, in recent times has put some guys over. But to me, him working with The Rock WrestleMania 31 is an example of him wanting to make sure he takes care of Triple H's business and ensures himself a big-time money match at WrestleMania. And I get that. And I don't necessarily want to begrudge him for that from a personal standpoint. Do what you got to do, what's best for yourself. But at some point in time, you also got to realize that you're one of the top executives of the company, that someday it might solely be your show. 5 years from now, are you really going to get any return off of Triple H versus The Rock at WrestleMania 31, knowing either A, The Rock beats Triple H and that pisses people off, or Triple H beats The Rock and that pisses people off and doesn't really do anything for the long-term product? Or could a Triple H wrestling a Dean Ambrose in a featured spotlighted WrestleMania match be a special attraction in and of itself? Could that help elevate a guy like Dean Ambrose and really establish him as a star for now and especially for the future? If you determine that you don't want to go with Roman Reigns, where's the Triple H Roman Reigns match? Why not use that again in a similar fashion for a Dean Ambrose? And that would be a way for people to sit there and say, hey, we're okay with Reigns. We're not that okay with them. We don't want them forced just yet. Give him a signature victory. That'll really help him along. Hell, if you want to turn Seth Rollins back babyface, Triple H versus Seth Rollins. Out of the three guys in the Shield, I think long-term the guy that's going to need the most kind of bump to get him over the edge is going to be Seth Rollins. Why not put a Seth Rollins in that featured spotlighted spot against Triple H? I can guarantee you this. And some of the older fans might love The Rock versus Triple H one more time, nostalgia, skippity skip, whoopty woo. But me personally, even being an older fan, I would much rather see Triple H versus Dean Ambrose at WrestleMania, or Triple H Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, or Triple H Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. And even if we're going to sit there and go that, I would even rather see Triple H versus Randy Orton, or Triple H versus John Cena. And the reason being is at least Triple H is facing off against somebody where they're going to be on the roster full time. You have the ability to get a lot of return off of that investment and off of what you do with them. Triple H and The Rock is kind of like one of those cheap short-term thrills that nobody's going to get anything from. And here's my thing. You either have them wrestle somebody from the Shield or at least somebody on the full-time roster. You could still have a featured spotlighted match with Triple H, but have it do something to benefit the company long-term and still have a special attraction match with The Rock. I'm sorry if the WWE thinks that the best special attraction match they can have for The Rock is Triple H. They're fooling themselves, and I think in a large way shows just how out of touch this damn company is. You could do The Rock versus John Cena 3. I know a lot of you that are watching this video won't like the mere suggestion or thought of that, but that is still a special attraction match. One for Rock, one for Cena. What happens in the grudge match? I would rather see, if you gave me the choice of Triple H versus The Rock or Triple H versus Dean Ambrose and The Rock versus John Cena, I'm going Triple H, Ambrose, and The Rock, John Cena. I'm getting more benefit for my roster long term, and I'm also helping to create a new star in the case of Dean Ambrose. But even in that case, that's not even the best special attraction. You could do The Rock versus Brock too. Whether or not that's for the title is inconsequential to me. I think Rock versus Brock and Rock versus Cena are both bigger and more special attractions than The Rock Triple H. Hell, I'll even go so far with Batista's success with Guardians of the Galaxy. You could do a kind of movie star versus movie star feud. You could do The Rock versus Batista, something you never really were able to go down that path. I think Rock Batista is a better, bigger, special attraction, WrestleMania feeling type of match than The Rock versus Triple H. All the while still allowing Triple H to do business with somebody else that allows the WWE to accomplish something for the short and long term, while still having their special attraction. Hell, if you want to do another different thing with The Rock, freaking put him against Rusev. You already teased it. Why not freaking go there? Why not? Especially because it would help, hopefully, keep John Cena away from Rusev, which is the last thing we need right now. Here's my thing. Rather than having just one big attraction that is all for that one night and you really don't get a lot of return out of it, why not help somebody become a big star instantly and still have the big attraction? I mean, seriously. If you told me it was Triple H versus Dean Ambrose, or even Triple H versus Seth Rollins, or Triple H versus Roman Reigns, and then you told me it was The Rock versus John Cena, or The Rock versus Brock, or The Rock versus Batista, I'm like, damn, that's a good start to a WrestleMania show. That's a good start in terms of a building block, a foundation piece. Triple H versus The Rock, it's just like the type of shit that if a TNA did this, we'd bash the shit out of them. This is two older guys facing off against each other, hogging a top spot away from everybody else. All the while, the company is getting absolutely no long-term benefit out of this. It's just ridiculous to me. And again, for the WWE, I understand that, WrestleMania is your big show, and I applaud you and appreciate you for the past 3 WrestleManias actually trying to give us those special attractions, actually trying to make WrestleMania somewhat feel like WrestleMania. But WrestleMania isn't the end game. It's not the be-all, end-all. To me, you look at WrestleMania as your biggest show of the year. It's where you launch yourself off for the next year. And that should be a point in time where you have signature moments, signature matches, and signature breakout performances by new stars. And at this time where you've got Dean Ambrose on the cusp of something, Roman Reigns coming back, perhaps being on the cusp of something, Seth Rollins perhaps being on the cusp of something. Hell, if we want to get crazy and not to do something different with Bray Wyatt, send him at the freaking Rock. You want to get something significant and meaningful in the short and long term, then you got to go away from Triple H versus The Rock. I mean, this is 2014. Come 2015, WrestleMania 31. Is The Rock versus Triple H really the best option for the WWE? Is that the match that people will want to pay money to see? Is that the best possible choice that you have present to you, WWE? I disagree. I don't think it is. I think this is just a cheap, lazy, short-term fix that will ultimately disappoint, not do nearly enough for the company long term.